Inside centers are back on NBA 2K25. If you want to be able to snag every single rebound and dog out your opponent, especially those 6'7" shooting centers, I got the build for you. Not only do you get every rebound, but you can dunk on your opponent as well. On top of that, whenever you snag that rebound and there's an open teammate down the floor, you're able to throw that deep outlet pass. This build thrives in 5v5 gameplay. So you're going to make this build at the center position, 6'9", 255 pounds with a 7'5" wingspan. Now for the height, weight, and wingspan of this build, it is going to be the same for both variations of this build, but we will show you a variation that gets some free throw as well as some other stats in certain categories that you might like. But I am personally using the very first variation of this build that you're going to see, but stay tuned for the second variation of the build at the end of the video. I'm going to be showing you guys the dunk packages at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that as well. Now we're going to start off in the speed, agility, strength, and vertical category. That way you guys can see the badges that you get that are still bound to those categories. So first we're going to get an 80 speed with a 65 agility. Don't worry about putting up agility because it actually does not matter. You just want to have it at the bare minimal in relation to your speed. Then for strength, this build's going to get an insane amount of strength at 6'9". It gets 95 strength, so you are not getting bullied by any 7-footers. And on top of that 95 strength, we're going to be getting a 90 vertical on this build. That's right, I said 90 vertical. I promise you, no 7-footer is going to be able to jump with you on this build. And that's your job as an inside center. You need to be able to go and get those crazy rebounds that nobody else can grab. Okay, so now let's move up to the finishing category. Now, the finishing category, this build definitely does not have any sort of drop off in driving dunk, close shot, driving layup, or post control. For your close shot, you're going to move this up to a 81. For your driving dunk, that's going to go up to a 75, which will actually bring up your layup with it to a 55. That 75 is very key because it gives us that bronze posterizer, but it's really at 75 because our standing dunk is going to go all the way up to a 90. Now with that 90 standing dunk, we do get that gold rise up. That's going to be super useful as a center. We also get very good stand dunk animations here, but this build is not 6'10", so that 90 stand dunk does not give us the elite and pro standing dunk animations, but we still are able to boom the ball just as if we had those. I have not really noticed much of a difference between a 6'9" and a 6'10" or taller. For your post control, this is going to stay at a 60. Now let's talk about the finishing on this build a little bit. This build does more than just enough. A lot of poppers have like 82 standing dunk, the 75 standing dunk, with a little to no driving dunk somewhere in the 60s. This build has the ability to dunk the ball off the dribble, to posterize your opponent, and dunk the ball anytime you want to under the rim. That's going to be a super important part of an inside. You actually need to be a threat when you catch the ball under the rim. You don't want to slack off with your finishing on an inside center because you need to be able to be a force to be reckoned with. They need to be able to send double teams, if sometimes triple teams, to stop you in the paint. And with this build, it definitely is not light on the finishing. We are able to dunk on any single height of center in any sort of setting, whether it's 2s, 3s, or 5s. Now for the shooting category, obviously we are not going to be touching this. It's just going to stay at 41 mid-range with a 41 free throw. Now for your pass accuracy, you're going to push this all the way up to a 75. Now with that 75 pass accuracy, we are going to get silver break starter and silver dimer. If you guys are playing the rec mode or 5v5 pro-am, I recommend you put your +1 to a tier 1 badge here and you have gold break starter. But getting all the way up to that 87 pass accuracy is kind of ridiculous and you lose a lot in the build. So make sure that's where you put your +1 to a badge. Let's talk about the playmaking on this build. The ball does not die in your hands when you are using this center. Not only when you snag every rebound, you are able to throw those deep outlet bombs even with silver break starter like I have in these clips, or you can upgrade it to gold to get more bullet pass animations. But when you're on your slips, you're able to make those quick passes to the wing or corner. You're going to be definitely a force to be reckoning with when passing the ball with this build. You are by no means throwing milk duds around the floor because you don't get that LeBron pass style or that Jokic pass style. 75 pass accuracy is more than enough on every center in this game. This is not a game of 90+ pass accuracy for your centers. So make sure you guys don't go too much higher than 75 on your builds. And with that 45 and 50 speed with ball, we're not going to completely die with the ball in our hands. We're still going to be able to run down the floor and even on our quick slips be able to put the ball on the floor for 1 or 2 dribbles. Now up next for our interior defense, we are going to get a 75 interior defense with an 82 perimeter. Then we're going to put our steal all the way up to an 85, and then our block's going to go all the way up to an 84. Now going through these badges, there's a couple of things that we should focus on here. we do get bronze post lockdown with silver paint patroller, as well as gold off-ball pest to help us play those lanes whenever people are trying to backdoor cut us. And for perimeter defense, we are able to pick up on the ball here with silver challenger and silver immovable enforcer. We're not going to have any sort of issues hedging on a guard or even full switching to a guard with an 82 perimeter as well as 80 speed. This build can honestly play lock in the park at 6'9", which is crazy to say. Then for our steal, we do get that silver glove with the gold interceptor. I don't think any more steal in this category is needed because we're not going to really be reaching at on-ball plucks, and we also can't even get to a 91 steal if we wanted to. But that gold interceptor is going to be insane. It plays just like Hall of Fame and Legend. There's not really much of a difference between gold and Legend, from my personal opinion. Now for the final category in this build, it's going to be the 84 block. Once again, we do get that silver paint patroller, bronze pogo stick, and silver high flying denier. Then for our offensive rebound, we are going to push this all the way up to a 96. Now this build on the defensive end of the floor, gameplay wise, it feels insane. We're able to stop just about anybody in the paint whenever we want to. We get tons of blocks. It's definitely not something that's going to get bodied. That 6'9" height does not feel too small compared to 7-footers, and it feels overly dominant against 6'7" guys. I'm actually not scared at all with the 75 interior. We're able to get stops on not only post scorers, but just people actually trying to dunk on us very consistently. And on top of that, if somebody does happen to grab a rebound over our 96 offensive rebound and 95 strength, we're able to just wall up and stop them from getting a putback, which is super important in 5v5 perspective because you're not always going to be in perfect position to grab those rebounds. Now where this build really shines is definitely the rebounding gameplay as well as the defensive side of the floor. The rebounding gameplay is ridiculous on this build, and some of these clips, that 90 vertical and 96 O board just absolutely takes over. I'm able to miss my own shots, grab the board, go up again, miss again, go up again. I'm really like an Angel Reese on the court. Everybody else just looks like they have zero rebounding whenever this build is comparing to it. It really makes me want to test out 90 vertical on an even taller center. But right now that 6'9" with 90 vertical just feels unstoppable on the rebounds. Now for our last few ticks, we're going to put that onto defensive rebound, which will give us an 84 defensive rebound. And that's just so I can secure those defensive stops from our guards and lockdowns and be able to go up and snag it and not worry too much about having an 81 defensive rebound. There's not much of a difference though between 81 and 84. You could really put those anywhere you want. Okay, so for the first variation of this build, it is going to come out as shades of Ben Wallace, Robert Williams, and Clint Capella, and it is named a board hunting lob threat. Now let's go ahead and back up and we will show you guys the second variation of this build. So for the second variation of this build, you're going to drop your stand dunk all the way down to an 82, which will give you silver rise up. Then you're going to drop your driving dunk down to a 73. That way we keep that threshold for the bronze posterizer. And then you're going to want to push your driving layup all the way down to a 53. We still are getting silver rise up as well as bronze posterizer on this build, and you could use your +1 to your rise up here as it is a tier 2 badge. Now for the next change that you would make to this build, you'd want to put your free throw up. That way you get like a 65 free throws, so you're actually able to knock down free throws with the build. And then in this second variation of the build, your interior defense is actually going to go all the way up to an 82, which will allow you to get that silver post lockdown so people can't drop step you as easily, and you're not as much of a defensive liability against post scores. Now for the next thing we are going to put up on this build, we are going to move our free throw up to a 60. That way we can at least knock down 1 to 2 free throws. And if we have our 2-way tenacity badge activated, we will have a 99 free throw. And being a center that's playing the 5 and setting the PNR, we're going to get a lot of dunks, a lot of rebounds, a lot of blocks, and a lot of steals. So I'm not too worried about not having my 2-way tenacity badge activated. Then we're going to go down to our interior defense, and we are going to move this up to an 82, which will give us that silver post lockdown. And then the last step on this build is going to be taking our block all the way up to an 88. As you can see, that gives me gold high flying denier as well as silver post lockdown. That silver post lockdown plays really well against post scores, so you're able to get a lot more stops in the paint, as well as that gold high flying denier, which will help you a lot when stopping people around the rim and trying to get chase down blocks. You're just going to take that last tick and put it onto free throw, which will finish you off with a 61 free throw. This build's going to come out at basically the same name with the exact same shades because we didn't really make too much adjustments besides interior, taking down some standing dunk, and increasing your block. This build is going to come out with a different name because we brought up our interior and our block and brought down our stand dunk a little bit. Now it comes out as a defensive anchor. All right, so for your dunk packages, you're going to make sure you clip these athletic one-handers off too, the rim grazers off too, and then none of these other dunk packages will actually be added in from the 2-foot moving dunks. For 1-foot moving dunks, you're going to put rim grazers off 1, basic one-handers off 1, and basic two-handers off 1. Up next for standing dunks, we're going to put the one-hand under basket regular, the pro under basket rim pulls, and the elite rim pulls, as well as the athletic two-hand under basket. Then for our signature dunks, we're going to equip Giannis, DeMar DeRozan, Luka Doncic, Manu Ginobili, Trey Lyles, CJ McCollum, Klay Thompson, Kevin Huerter, and Draymond Green. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you guys found this video helpful, make sure you guys subscribe and drop a like for you, boy. We'll see you in the next one.